No, he took a nap.
Hello, how's everybody tonight?
We're good.
Thank you for the answer. Enthusiastic answer.
Don't ask a question unless you want an answer.
Hey.
Heckling already.
Congrats on everybody on surviving a harsh Florida winter. I know it was rough for a little bit there. It was pretty cold, but we made it through. Now it's starting to get warm, and people are coming out of hibernation, thankfully. It's a busy time of year, I imagine, for plumbers. What with all the clogged drains for women shaving their vegetables for the first time in months. Yeah. Everybody's getting ready for the beach. Everybody's getting ready for the beach.
We're taking out the lawnmower.
The weed whacker.
I love the beach. It's one of my favorite places on earth. You get to lay in the sunshine. It's beautiful. And it's one of the only public places I know of where you get there and take off your clothes and then walk around in your underwear, and it's perfectly acceptable. Some people might be a little self-conscious about that, but I'll tell you who isn't. The men in Speedos. These guys have the highest self-esteem of anybody on the planet because it's not the hot, fit guys in Speedos, no. It's always the hairiest, saggiest, full-bellied men you ever see. Talk about low-hanging fruit. No, the beach is great, but it does have its downsides. Ladies, never sit at the edge of the ocean unless you like collecting shells in uncomfortable places. With our sand, you'll be picking shells out of your hoo-ha for a month, I'm telling you. But no, the beach is great. Yes. So I used to think I liked getting tossed around a little until the ocean did it. Or sexy at all. Sex on the beach is not like the movies at all. The sand is not your friend. If you think rug burn's bad, just try it in the sand. It's just not good. There is such a thing as too much friction. But in order to have sex on the beach, you have to be a little spontaneous, and I'm not usually. But I was spontaneous one time. I was on a cruise, and I decided to have sex on the balcony. But I'm not much of a risk taker, so I wore a life jacket. You should have seen the tan lines. Oh my gosh. You meet all kinds of people when you're dating. I dated this guy one time. He was so arrogant that every time I said, "Oh God," in bed, he answered yes. He thought I was calling him. Can you believe that? Don't get me started on guys that are really physically active. I'm not into that. You know the type, they always want to go hiking, kayaking, rock climbing. Yeah, that's not for me. In fact, if I'm being honest, I don't really even like long walks on the beach. I'd rather a short walk from the stairs to the shore where we sit down and drink a couple of beers. That sounds better to me. But I'm not totally lazy. I will walk a couple of blocks if we can't find a good parking space at the bar. Well, I may not know exactly what I want in a man, but I can tell you what I don't want. Here's an example of a not ideal first date for me. Don't ask me how I know. Meet a man, everything's going great. Well, he doesn't have a car, so against my better judgment, I bring him home with me anyway, where he proceeds to give me the best 5 minutes of my life before passing out in my bed. Wake up in the morning, and he's hungry, but he forgot his wallet. So I take him to the drive-thru at McDonald's because I'm a lady, and he's gonna cash out me later anyway, so it's fine. And then I drop him off at his home where he lives in his mom and dad's garage. Yeah, alcohol and bad decisions were made that night. That is the last time I pick up a man from GameStop, I'll tell you. But I'm really terrible at being an adult because I'm bad at making decisions. I wish I had somebody to follow me around and be like, you can't eat that, you can't drink that, you're cranky, take a nap. You can't buy that, and for the love of God, don't sleep with that. Because decisions have consequences like heartburn, hangovers, overdraft fees, sleeping with people who are really terrible in bed. Because that's a chance you always take the first time you visit somebody, you never know. I wish they came with references so you know whether you're wasting your time and energy and you're just going to have to do it yourself later anyway. I made a bad decision once, and no, I'm not talking about getting married, although that is at the top of the list, but this is the time when I decided to try being a nudist. I always fantasized about being at home by myself so I could walk around naked, and the time finally came one time. My kids were gone for the weekend, and I finally had my chance. I got out of the shower, I was walking around, having a great time, getting ready to go somewhere. The time finally came for me to get dressed, and my clothes were in the dryer, they just finished, so I went to get them out. There wasn't a basket handy, so I just grabbed them up in my arms, and as I was walking back to the bedroom, I felt a burning pain and realized I made a grave mistake. And that's the story of how I got a zipper burn on my nipple and decided to never be a nudist. But it is hard finding a man these days. I think everybody's having a hard time, and sometimes they have to go through extreme measures. I have this friend, and she's awesome. I love her. She's 75 years old, and she's everything I aspire to be at her age. She's beautiful, glamorous, sexy, dresses to a T, and still parties like a rock star. Well, if the rock star went to bed at 10 p.m., but you know, she's living it up still, having a great time. So we go out to eat one time with some of our friends, and she looks fabulous as usual, and she gets the food put in front of her, and then she looks at us and says, well, ladies, you know what happens next? And then she proceeds to take out her teeth. Well, some of us were a little grossed out, but you know who wasn't? The three men who came over and gave her their numbers. This is just a way to get men. I don't know, for some reason they like that. But no, maybe it's so hard finding a man because I'm just being too picky, you know? Maybe I should just use the mirror test. You stick a mirror under their nose, and if it fogs up, they're acceptable to date. All this talk about dating has me reminiscing. It reminds me when I was younger, I was never into sports because I was terrified of getting hit in the face with balls. But look at me now.